Now, our guest tonight, Bob Chapman, has been on the radio with me for 15 years. 15 years. I owe this man the credit for helping me pay my house off 5 years early, because he told me 15 years ago to buy silver dollars when they were like $3 or $4 a piece. Now they're going around $20 a piece for the Silver Eagles. And I'm telling you, folks, Bob Chapman knows what he's talking about. He's been in this game for 60 years or thereabouts. He is one powerful speaker. And if you want education about what's going on in the world, especially finances, you stay real close to your radio right now. Every night we have new listeners. I know that, listening from Florida to New York to California. Those from coast to coast, and I know that on AM, FM stations, shortwave, satellite. And welcome to the program. But please stay tuned and listen to what this man has to tell you. Take his advice like I did, and you'll be glad you did. Bob Chapman of the International Forecaster, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you very much, and it's very nice to be back, and thank you all for listening.
Well, you know,
it's always a joy doing your program, and that music that you have as an intro is so great. And I remember you sent me a tape on that, and I thank you for that. It was a long time ago.
It's been a long time ago.
But anyway, the more serious things that we got to talk about tonight, first of all, as Pastor Butch mentioned, we've had gasoline prices get pretty close to their highs recently.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like oil wants to go higher. Now, I don't know where it's going to go. I would think that maybe $100 a barrel would be doable.
Can I ask you a quick question, Bob?
It's only about $20 away.
Can I ask you a quick question, Bob? Is oil going up, or is the dollar coming down?
I think the dollar is coming down, and it's causing oil to go up because, for the most part, it's denominated in dollars.
Right.
And I think that's part of the problem. But, you know, I've been told by people, and we have a lot of subscribers in the Middle East. We got them all over the world. And the consensus in total is that there's going to be war soon between Israel and Iran.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, that would make those prices go higher. And who knows, we could end up in a nuclear war. And, you know, I hope it doesn't happen, but, you know, Israel has been telling Iran for the last 5 years or so, we want you to stop doing this nuclear thing. And if you don't, we're going to attack you. And all the U.S. has to say is, well, I think it's time to attack them. And they will. And it'll engulf the entire Middle East. Because I have people in Abu Dhabi and Dubai and Saudi, and then I have people in Europe who are in connection with them in various means through finance. Some of them visit the hotels which are owned by some of my subscribers. So you hear all kinds of information which they gratuitously report back to me. So, you know, anything can happen, and so that's going to be a problem in the future. I think one of the things that people don't know anything about, or very little, and there's been very little coverage on this. Of course, the major media ignores it. But last Thursday, the U.S. Treasury and the Labor Department asked... You get a break coming up?
No, we're fine.
Okay. We'll ask for a public comment this week, because what they want to do is convert 401k savings, pensions, and the IRAs into annuities that would consist of U.S. Treasuries and agencies. The agencies are bonds and Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, and FHA loans. And I think that could be monstrous.
Well, what would that, in your opinion, how long would that last before they went bust again?
Well, I think the U.S. government is busted, and I think desperate people do desperate things. And I think that what they want to do is... Now, we don't know how this is going to happen. First of all, it may never happen at all. They might back off because people will be livid, and it is an election year. They might just be probing. On the other hand, they might say, well, let's have those who are in pensions and voluntarily let us use the collateral within their pension plans to purchase these annuities, so we can collateralize the sale of U.S. Treasuries and agency bonds, and so buyers will know that those bonds can't go bankrupt, so to speak. Now, that's voluntary. They may make it mandatory. We don't know. They may do nothing at all. But the very fact that they've made this proposal to do this is absolutely dreadful and nefarious.
Oh, yes.
And they are so desperate. In my recent issue, I talked about the Federal Reserve has, this past year, bought 80% of the treasuries and agencies at auction. Now, the Federal Reserve doesn't have any money. They make it up out of thin air. And so can you imagine how inflationary that is? And it's going to start hitting us toward this year and through the remainder of the year and into next year.
Well, Bob, it's already hitting us. I notice every time I go to the store. Prices increase every week, every 2 weeks, I guarantee you.
And they reduce the size of the packages.
Absolutely.
As if they're fooling us.
They absolutely, the price is going up.
And you're right. And you're right. And they say official inflation right now is 2.4%, which is speeded up since last May. And the real inflation is 8.25%. It'll go to 14% this year. Maybe I'm conservative, but that's okay. 14% is bad enough. That's where it was 2.5 years ago. And so I think we're headed out in that direction. And, of course, that's going to put a lot of pressure on the downside during the course of this year on the U.S. dollar. And that's why I think within a year or a year and a half, in that time frame, there could be official devaluation and there could be official default among other nations. And what I envision is another meeting like the meeting we saw in the early 70s, which was called the Smithsonian meetings, and then in 1985 the Plaza Accord, in 1987 the Louvre Accord, where they put all the nations together and they devalued and revalued currencies against one another. But this time I think there's going to be a debt settlement, probably for 30 cents on the dollar. And the reason I say that is that the U.S. can't service its debt, and all its creditors know that.
Well, Bob, what's going to happen with? I read in one of your articles where you think there might be a new currency coming out, not necessarily an international currency, but a new dollar for this country. Do you see that happening?
Right, year to a year and a half, official devaluation, and I'm guessing that one new one for three old ones. Why? Because they're bankrupt.
So they would change the looks of the dollar completely and swap the old ones for new ones.
Put your picture on it or mine or somebody.
Somebody
it'll
famous
look
like
relatively the same. It'll just be a new dollar.
And they'll exchange the old dollars for the old dollar 3 to 1.
Right, and that's a guess. And the time frame is a guess. I mean, I've got people who have told me this is going to happen, but you just never know. Everything changes.
Well, Bob, wouldn't that
I thought there was going to be a bank holiday last May, and I had to change my life, my idea in July, because I said politically already the Democrats and the administration are in serious trouble, and they're not going to take the risk of doing that during this time frame. And so I backed off on it.
But
and I was right. Nothing happened.
Wasn't a 3 to 1 swap, though, bankrupt about everybody in the country, including most businesses?
Well, if you think the Americans are going to make out bad, just think about the foreigners. 70% of the dollars in the world are outside the country. And look at the debt. We owe about, the Treasuries alone is close to $3 trillion. And then you have the others. Not talking about regular bonds and stocks, you got to be talking $4 to $5 trillion. And if you throw in the bonds and stocks, which will go down during that period, maybe foreigners own $10 trillion, maybe $15 trillion.
That
they're
number's
going to
big.
take a terrible bath, but there's nothing that can be done about it. When you're broke, you're broke.
But I just try to imagine people that are barely hanging on right now, and they divide $1 3 to 1, and businesses who are barely keeping the doors open. That's going to make a downward spiral, in my opinion, Bob, that we'll not recover from. At least not for years.
Well, we will, but it'll take a long time.
Yes.
Americans are warriors. They're very resourceful. They're hardworking. They're decent. They're decently educated people. I mean, I know education in the United States is dreadful, but it's dreadful everybody's else, too. So don't worry about it. I mean, everybody's as stupid as you are. We can put it that way. But the point is, no matter how little you have, the things that you eat, put extra cans away. If you can afford dehydrated and freeze-dried food, it's so important for you to have it. At least you can eat.
Hang on to the break, Bob.
Hang on to the break, Bob. Your water.
Hang on to the break. Okay, Bob, hang on to the break. Folks, back at the break with the phone calls next half hour.